I want to confess that I saw my madam boss as he was busy sleeping with a snake. To this very day, it shocks me. But what shocks me even more is that I am still staying at her house because of the salary that she is giving to me. Brother Nashi, please accept my confession. And as I requested, please just narrate my story yourself instead of posting my voice note on YouTube. It is very surprising when I went back home. It was surprising when I heard someone saying that he knows your voice and listens to your stories. You never know who might be listening. To all those that are going to be listening to my story, please forgive me because I will change some of the details in my story because I do not want my enemies or the people from my past to recognize me. But my story, it is not a made-up story. It is a story that I have lived through, and it is nothing but the truth. My name is Cindy, and I am 32 years old, and I am a Zimbabwean woman originally from Tarim, but currently staying here in South Africa, where I am working as a maid for a woman who is doing money rituals. She is assisting her husband. What I have seen and gone through in my life is more than what most of the women of my age could ever endure. I was born and I was raised strictly in the Apostolic Church. If you know how things work in our church, please do not mention the name of the church. You know that us, those that are going to the Apostolic Church, when you are a girl does not have any right for real, because they believe that a man is the one that has to control the life of the woman that is around him, and you are not even allowed to go to school in most cases, and you are supposed to get married so that your father can make money. My dad, he used to make it clear that his daughters were his fortune. When I was just 15 years old, I was just a child who knew nothing about life or marriage. My father then married me off. My father married me off to the man whom he chose for me, who was his close friend. This man was quite old. He was someone that was a high-ranking bishop in our church. He already had 9 wives. So when I moved into his house, I became his 10th wife. What I did not like about this man was that this man was not only older than me, he was older than my mother. He was much more older than my own dad. Yet my father wanted to push me to go and stay with that man who had many wives. My father then said to me, "My daughter, if you do not want to go and stay with this man, your father is going to get arrested." I said, "Dad, how so? What do you mean when you say that you're going to get arrested?" My father then told me that he had married me off to this man when I was very young. At around 10, he had already started eating the lobola money that this man would come and give to him. He said that some of this money he was using to buy food, he was using that money to send my brothers to school, and it was already finished, and he still wanted the money that was remaining from that man. So I did not have a choice. I was supposed to go and get married. My aunties, who were my father's sisters, they were the ones that came to prepare me for marriage because I was going to get married. So I refused. I said, "I can't go there, auntie." But they said, "No, we are going." I cried when we were going to that bishop's house until we reached that place. But in our church environment, a woman does not have a voice. My mother reminded me, my aunties as well, they said that I am supposed to be obedient to my father, otherwise I will go to hell. My father agreed to the marriage because of this bishop's spiritual status in church, and he also had wealth, not like real money. He just had a big piece of land. So what this man was doing was very clever. He had 10 wives, including me, and he married other wives after me. He ended up having 27 children plus 10 wives. So this meant that at his farm, he had people that could give him free labor to work on his field. So every day was the same. You wake up and you go and you work in the field. For many years, I lived in total bondage. We worked, Brother Nashi, planting and harvesting, but I never saw a single cent. The bishop, our husband, will take all the produce to the market, sell it, and use that money to even marry more young girls from the same church. He was extremely cruel. He was physically abusive, emotionally abusive. The final breaking point came when I saw that he was accusing me of being too clever because I would sit with the other elderly wives that I had already seen that were already married to our husband. And I said to them, we can't wait for him to continue marrying other young women. We are supposed to stop this. So they started to listen to me. And then he said that I was too clever, and he started accusing me even in church of sleeping with this other young boy who was heading his cattle. On that farm, he had one compound, a very big compound where all of his wives stayed in one place, in the same fence, but each and every woman had her own small yard. So I had my own small yard right next to my house. Then that was where the paddocks of the cows started. So I would speak with the young boy who was heading the cows that belonged to our husband. I would also give him food since I was the one that was closest to his workplace. So because of that, he would see me talking with that young boy, and he started to beat me so severely, and I had to be rushed to the clinic. When I went to the clinic, the nurses there, they already knew about my case, that I was always abused and I was always being beaten by my husband. One nurse pulled me aside after she had treated my wounds, and she said to me, "My child, you have been coming here. How many times have you come here because you are being beaten by your husband? If you stay in this violent marriage, you are going to die." And they said, to die, it is far much better. And then she said, no, don't say that. If you die, have you ever thought about your children? Your daughters, they are going to grow up without a mother. They're going even to be married at 5 years. And when she said that, those words, they woke me up. I made the painful decision to leave my young children under the care of my family, and I ran away from the farm and I started to stay in another village that is called Rusape. In Rusape, that was where I ended up meeting my second husband. This man that I met, he was not rich. He was the poor of the poorest in that village. He was just a cattle header. He was heading cattle in that same village, but we were completely broke and we were living in extreme poverty, both of us seeking a better life. And we used to head the cows together, and all that we cared about was to get some money to buy food, living hand to mouth. And then he then said to me, my wife, if we continue to stay in Zim, we are going to starve to death. Let us seek for a better opportunity in South Africa. We crossed the border illegally, so into South Africa. But when we came to South Africa, I saw that South Africa, if it is good to you, it can change your character. It changed my husband's character, and it was not for the best, but for the worst. Back in Zim, because he was dead broke, he was a church-going person. He even said that those that touched alcohol, they were fools. But when we came to South Africa, he started to make money. Me and my husband, both of us, we were doing piece jobs. He then said that, baby, I have seen a gap in the market. A lot of people, they do not have lawn mowers. How about if we raise money, we buy a lawn mower, and then I can walk around and I can look for some piece jobs, and I can make money. Because he was also doing good at landscaping business. We raised money and we went and we bought a lawnmower at Game. And then he started to make money. He started drinking heavy. It was like a demonic spirit of poverty had entered into my marriage. Because of the previous severe domestic abuse that I had suffered from the bishop, I already had deep trauma surrounding violent men, and I was afraid of men that drank alcohol. The moment that I saw my husband coming home drunk, fear then gripped my heart, and I knew that this man, if he continues to drink, one way or the other, he will start to beat me up. So I walked away from the marriage just to save myself. I moved in and I started sharing a room with another Zimbabwean woman from the same apostolic church that I was now going to in South Africa. We were doing your piece jobs, and I was working at this other Makula restaurant, and when I was not there, I was cleaning houses around the locations. And if I And whenever I was about to go to bed, I would go on my knees and pray and say, God, bless me with a stable job so that I can support myself and send school fees back home for my children and parents back in Zim. It was in 2024, my prayers, they were answered. There was this other South African woman, she has since passed away. She was working in a gated community, and then she told me that there was this other Nigerian man who was looking for someone that wanted a job, and she said that she had remembered me because the Nigerian guy had said that he wanted specifically someone that was from Zim, who was going to work very hard. So that is how I was hired. I started working for a Nigerian man who told me that the house, he had bought it for his fiancée that was staying in Durban, a South African woman. She then later came and I started to work for him. So this woman, she just live a life of luxury. She dates this very rich Nigerian guy who funds a lifestyle, and my salary at the beginning, it was set at 8,500 rands. This was more money that I had ever seen in my entire life. However, my boss, when she came from Durban, she then said, Cindy, I've heard that you are responsible and you are a nice person, but you know that in my bedroom, I don't like people to go in there, right? And things are going to be different than when your boss was around. There is a walk-in wardrobe in the master bedroom, and I had never been in there, but it is too big. To someone else who is poor, that room, you can even take it as a room where you can even sleep. It is a big room, but that room, it is full of clothes, handbags, shoes. And then she said that whenever you are in the bedroom, even if the door to my wardrobe, it is open, never attempt to close it, never touch it, never do anything. Once you do it, then you are fired on the spot. So Brother Nashim, I then said that I'm going to respect everything, and I started working for her after her husband had moved to Durban. So a few months when I was working for my madam boss, she then went to Cape Town. Then after she had left the house, the driver then came, and then he said that he had been sent for our madam. He had forgotten one of her handbag in the bedroom, and I was supposed to go and get it. I went upstairs to get the handbag. When I walked into the master bedroom, I then realized that the door to the wardrobe, it was open, and there was something that was moving in there, and it was smelling. Like, I am someone that was born and raised in the villages. This is how we used to know that there is a place where there is a dangerous snake. Do you know that a snake, as it gets old, it starts to smell? It smells like someone that is cooking sorghum soft porridge. That is how you know that there is a snake here that is very old. So this smell that was in the bedroom, I was so afraid that maybe there is a snake. So I rushed down the stairs, and then I went and I gave the driver the handbag, and I went back to my duties. But on that night, I started to have terrible nightmares. I would see different kind of snakes, specifically a python. In our culture, if you dream of a python, like it is an ancestral calling, or your ancestors are protecting you. But what surprised me was that this python, it wanted to swallow me. So I was like, maybe my ancestors, they want to kill me. I did not understand, but I never told my mom about this. A week after my boss had returned from her Cape Town trip, that was when everything was revealed to me. It was late in the evening. My madam boss had told me that she wanted me to prepare a cup of coffee for her and to bring it in the bedroom before she went to sleep. So I prepared a tray, even put some chocolate biscuits, and I went upstairs. When I was at her bedroom door, it was a little bit open, and I said, boss, madam, can I bring in your tea? There was no answer. So I just pushed it wide and I stepped inside. What I saw, Brother Nanshim, first I heard a moaning sound of a woman that was having sex in the wardrobe. I really do not know what possessed me, because I found myself looking into the wardrobe, and then I saw my madam boss. She was completely naked. She did not even hear me walking because she was like possessed. Even her eyes, they were only showing the whites. So the way that she was kneeling down on the floor, and in between her thigh I saw that there was a python and it was busy licking her private parts. I saw the head of the snake, and in front of him I saw that there was money. I was so afraid. All that I said was Jesus Christ, and I then ran downstairs. My madam boss, she called me the next day. So the next morning, that was when I was afraid to even go into the main house. So I was outside just sweeping the pavement. And then she called me and she said, "What happened yesterday? What did you see?" I then told her everything that I had seen. And then she said to me, "Okay," as she stood up, and then she went and she sat on the couch. Then she gave me an envelope and she said, "Go and count this money in your room." I felt that there was money. I found out that there was 20,000 that was in that envelope, and I went back to the bedroom and I asked my boss and I said, "What is this money for?" And she said that "You are a hard-working person and I have decided to double your salary, but I will double your salary bit by bit. But from today onwards, I want you to help me with some things, and I know that I can trust you because you have a very strong spirit. That is why I chose you to work for me." She then said that once a week, as long as I am not on my period, I am supposed to go and buy a live chicken, and then I bring that chicken and I put it inside of a big basin, which I bought a very big black dish, the ones that you can use to bath. And then I slaughter that chicken and I leave that chicken inside of that big black dish close to the wardrobe. And then I wait for 30 minutes. When I come back, the dish will be clean. The bones, the chicken feathers, everything will be gone. This is what I have been doing ever since I walked in and I saw my madam boss sleeping with a snake. My boss told me that she wants me to work for him until 2029 or 2030. Then they would have been finished with all of these rituals that they are doing. One might ask, why don't you just pack your bags and run away now that 30 June is fast approaching? Brother Nashim, I will come back to you and tell you if I'm still in South Africa after 30 June. I will tell you if I'm still working for this couple or not. But this woman has been good to me. She has given me a good salary. I know that I am assisting them to do some money rituals, but the kind of a life that I will live if I leave South Africa and if I go to my country, I can even starve. And worst of all, my kids, they can even starve to death. So it is better that I just stay focused and I just work for this woman while at least I am making money. This woman has even bought a phone for me. I don't buy any toiletries because she goes and she buys toiletries for herself and she buys toiletries for me as well. I am also staying in a very nice place where she said that even on 30 June, we can go out, we can enjoy. No one is even going to touch you. Your dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to us by one of our dear sister. Let us talk with our dear sister in the comment section. Please give us an update. Are you still in South Africa or you have returned back to Zim? Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. Your